if I complain, if I press the complain button, something good comes out of it. Because if you complain to somebody who just sits there and says, computer says no, will you complain again?
It's like, it seems as though there's a lot of tension in the air. And when things don't work out, we are always looking to have like an outlet. So complaining seems to be a very easy way to rant and to just make ourselves heard rather than actually confronting, I think, the deeper issues that we might have. Yeah, and we said that complaining works. Therefore, yeah, we do that because it seems as though it's like a form of feedback. The authorities and the power that be also kind of take this into account. Then they also kind of react to our reaction.
And there are many other examples of complaints that actually worked eventually. So one of the biggest ones was the government backtracking on the 6.9 million population white paper. They actually took it and went to review it. Welcome to Also Consider This, the podcast where we value nuance, perspective, and knowledge so that we can all be
also clever thinkers.
I am the second most Alastair on the podcasting scene, and someone say I lost a job to a foreigner, which is not true.
Okay, and my name is Feng.
Okay, so what we normally did in the past, right, was that we recorded either on a Monday or Tuesday. We record on the earlier part of the week. Then I take quite a few days to do the edit, and then we post it up on Monday morning. So, just to say that, that's the reason why we tend not to respond about the last episode in the immediate episode after that, because of that edit drag time.
Because if we respond, it means that we are responding 2 weeks later, actually.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
So the last episode that we posted was on
the pickleball thingy.
Yeah, the pickleball thingy. So right now we're recording after
after we just released it.
Correct.
The day before.
Correct. So by the time based on this schedule, by the time we respond on the podcast itself, it will have been like 2 weeks 2 weeks will have passed.
Yeah.
Therefore, we are adjusting our upload schedule.
Again,
yes. But at least after 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, because I think we have found a kind of a rhythm that's working for us.
Right. So the idea is that we can post our episodes up a little bit earlier so that by the time we do the recording for the next one, we would have had some feedback or comments or hearsay from the previous video or the previous podcast episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with that in mind, I think we just quickly I would like to have a quick short review of the past 2 episodes. I noticed something quite interesting has happened in the past 2 weeks since we recorded the episode about the appointment of Coach Gavin as the national coach.
Yep.
In Act 12, we were talking about that, right?
Yes.
And then the funny thing is, after that was released, few days after that, Coach Gavin
invited him on again.
Yeah, so we got on the Yalabat again. And then something actually transpired thereafter. Nothing to do with, we were not active participants. Of course, we sort of we sort
advertise ourselves indirectly.
We advertise ourselves indirectly via the comments box in that particular episode. I think it's also worth a listen. I think he has got very good points about how he sees himself as the head coach of the national team.
Yep.
And I think that also ties into Act 13 because it happened that in Act 13,
he spoke about the infinite game.
Yes, in the Today I Learned segment, which I think some people don't actually listen to, you talk about the infinite game, right? The infinite game mindset. And Coach Gavin also talked about that infinite game mindset.
Yeah, like leaving the jersey at a better place than he found it. That's his mantra so far that we have heard him say over the past few months. Ever since he took over interim as well.
Yeah, so that although football in itself, every match is a finite game, but the development of football, especially as a national team, he sees it as an infinite game where it's a continuous improvement process. So have a listen to our episode if you haven't. I think we made some good points. Please listen to it in full before you make comments. Because we really value nuanced perspective,
Yeah, and not just like a as much as we try, sometimes if you see our IG, we kind of we do snippets, but we are not really sound bites people lah.
We suck at sound bites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you take us at the if you just listen to us for 5 minutes, you might actually miss the bigger point that we are trying to make.
Yes. And sometimes we make points for illustrative purposes only.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely we are not xenophobes or racists or whatever you think we may be with the 5 minutes that you had with us lah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today I would like to move on to our main topic.
Yep.
Right.
It's kind of related to our last week's topic, I feel, in some ways.
Some ways or other, I think I find that I was a bit hesitant to start on this topic because it sounded a bit like some of our previous topics.
Yeah.
Talking about like rage lah, not happy lah, all that kind of thing.
Then the sinky kind of
thing
that we spoke about last week.
Yeah, but I think today what we would like to talk about has a bit more depth to it, and I think it's very triggered by what happened recently with regards to the news about the MRT system in Singapore.
Yep, I think it has been quite a cloud over the nation for, I think, at least for the past 6 months. I think since July, it feels as though like the news cycle cannot avoid this thing.
You say it's a cloud over the nation. I think it's a heavier cloud over Jeffrey Xiao's head lah.
Yeah, so I think if you can guess it, I think it's already quite obvious that we are talking about MRT breakdowns.
Yes, and MRT maintenance. So lately there have been quite a few things related to basically MRT not running as it is
supposed to be
as it should, in a way. There were some breakdowns in the past few months. Then of course people started raging about it, and then recently there were some announcements made about the MRT in terms of maintenance. So a few weeks ago in the East-West line, the eastern side.
Yeah, they needed to extend the thing to the new depot in the eastern side lah.
Yes, and therefore there were a few days where people had to take replacement bus services somewhere around Tanah Merah, Simei, Tampines.
Yeah,
those few stops, basically on the eastern side, the people had to take buses instead. And then of course there is also the Circle Line tunnel maintenance thing. Basically, they found some structural issues in the tunnels and they had to shut it down to do some preventive maintenance.
And of course there's also still the completing the circle and testing the completed Circle Line that has been ongoing since like I think July this year, I think. The one where they are testing out the new signaling and everything to make sure that, because now we are connecting up the whole Circle Line as a full circle, so they're testing out the new system on Sundays, which is why like you have the replacement bus service every Sunday morning for like the past few months, I guess.
Yeah, but before we move on to that, I have a hot take.
Yes,
another hot take.
Away you go.
Yes. I know it's not a hot take, but more of a hot question. Why don't we just call the direction in the Circle Line clockwise and counter-clockwise? Are we so stupid, right, to not understand what is clockwise and counter-clockwise?
I have a partial answer to your question because I went to search about it, and it seems that the SMRT is testing out new ways to call when the Circle Line is completed in 26, which is next year, when they fully launch what they're gonna do is that they're gonna call it by direction. But I think because that the virtue of it is that we have launched the Circle Line for about, I don't know, now it's like 14 years, I guess. 2011. 10 odd years lah. Just over 10 years. And I think because people are very used to the idea of like Harbourfront and then Dhoby Ghaut.
I totally disagree with that. The number of times people check out the boards, right, as to check out which direction they're actually going, right?
Yeah.
It does not make sense.
Yeah. So the thing is, so they are testing out new signages to instruct people of how the system will work. Because once the circle is completed, it's no longer like, oh, you're gonna end at Harbourfront. So you let's say for Harbourfront to Dhoby Ghaut, once the circle is completed, it's actually faster to just take the counter-clockwise direction. So I think
or just take the northeast line. Actually, that's the fastest way.
Yeah. But if you are still within the system,
it is True.
still make more sense for you to take the circle line. So I think let's just be patient a little bit. I think they are revealing the new how the signages
That
will work.
doesn't. It still doesn't make sense. London has been having a circle line for hundreds of years, and it still says
But
CW
I would also
and
have a hot take.
CCW, and
I would-
nobody gets lost. So why?
I will also have a hot take. I do believe that Singaporeans don't really understand what it means by clockwise and anti-clockwise.
What, the people with like the best mathematics scores in the world
Yes.
don't know how to read a clock?
This is my hot take, because when I sometimes say clockwise or go this way, go that way, then people's like, huh, what do you actually mean?
So you heard it first. Feng believes that Singaporeans cannot read clocks.
To some sense, yes, because we are too used to the digital watch face.
Or just looking at 2359,
Yeah.
but don't know where the hands are.
So I think
So they don't even know if a clock. If you're saying that some people don't know if a clock is correct twice a day.
I can't comment for that. So yeah. But anyway, let's go back to our topic at hand,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think the greater thing that we want to talk about was that do we actually have the right to complain about all these, be it preventive or be it actual ongoing works through the MRT system? Do we actually have a right to complain about them? So I think we spoke about it quite extensively in our private conversations. It seems as though one of the things we kind of do see this pattern emerging, especially not just on the MRT system, is that it seems as though like we are complainers, or we complain because complaining serves its purpose, that it brings attention to the issue that we want the powers that be to take notice of lah.
Yeah, I would say that we are complainers because complaining really works.
Yeah.
Like, anyone who lives in an ATB estate can tell you that if something is wrong, if I complain to a town council, if I complain to HDB, or I write something to the MP, something will be done about it. And the way they react to things is pretty fast and sometimes even pretty drastic. So some of the complaints that people have responded to before, right? Putting a metal fence as a badminton net so that you cannot play pickleball at a
Yep,
badminton
we talked
court.
about that last week.
Right. These are very, very responsive things that people have done. Setting up of covered walkways.
Not responsive, I would think. I would say reactive, more like.
A reaction is still a response
Okay.
in this case, right? But the point is that like there's so many things that come, right, and then like where I live outside the road right outside my house, there's a primary school, and then there are a lot of people who cross the road, and then there must be somebody who noticed it and said something, and they put up some traffic lights for kids to cross the road. For
same as my estate, I guess. They converted one pedestrian crossing into a traffic light crossing, because by virtue of it being a school zone, and people feel that for the safety of children, they should just convert it.
Yeah, and there are many other examples of complaints that actually worked eventually. So one of the biggest ones was the government backtracking on the 6.9 million population white paper.
Yeah.
They actually took it and went to review it. You know, I think they sort of amended it slightly, right? Whether you agree with it or not, that's another matter. But at the very least, they actually took it back and went to review it.
And I think the one other very big issue that was backtracked, and it's a very big hoo-ha in, I think, was it last year or 2 years ago, was the Simply Go rollout.
Yes.
That was like, wow, we thought we were gonna like all systems go already. Then, wow, they really rolled back, and then they took back everything.
Yes, and they basically even took out public funds to maintain a system that is in actual fact, in my opinion, is actually a very obsolete system.
Yeah.
And therefore, like, whatever you say, the point that we are trying to drive here is that, yes, you know, we are complainers because complaining does work. You know, and therefore, you know, is that the reason why we are complaining so much as Singaporeans? Like, people do label us as complainers.
Yeah. So if we come back to in relation to this MRT thing, I feel sometimes it's also because it seems as though it's a pressure release valve. I'm not denying that, yes, compared to a lot of other cities, we already have it quite well. But I think because of how Singapore society and the work, it's like it seems as though there's a lot of tension in the air. And when things don't work out, we are always looking to have like an outlet. So complaining seems to be a very easy way to rant and to just make ourselves heard rather than actually confronting, I think, the deeper issues that we might have.
But that's also because generally complaining works, right? If not, you wouldn't be complaining, right? Like it's because when you complain, something is done about it. Therefore, you will complain again because it works.
I kind of also see that sometimes people complain not needing to have like a resolution. I feel like some things that we complain about seems to just be like outburst rather than giving criticism or wanting certain things to improve per se.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like more of like an outlet to like
But then that becomes the issue of like, it's actually complaining in itself is a very negative human trait. Like okay, it's not a trait, right? That being a complainer, right? In reality, if you think about it carefully, it is not something that you want your close friends or family to have as a trait. It's not something that you want to potentially impart to children as a trait to have. You know, people always talk about like, oh, Singaporeans are whiny and complainy. Like you wouldn't want to, hopefully you wouldn't want your friends or your family or your children to be whiny complainers also, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want people to have the ability to fix things rather than just be sitting there and whining all day long. It's very negative to have a person that you meet just sit there and complain. Like, can you imagine you meet someone for dinner, right? And that person is just whining away about how shitty their life is and complaining the whole time. Then it's like, it's a lot of negative energy if you push it so far, right, it becomes a very negative space, right?
And potentially toxic lah.
Yeah. So it becomes like, is it really what we want as for ourselves, as people in general?
As a citizenry, we are relatively reactive. Therefore, complaining seems to become like a default mode that we are in. Yeah, and we said that complaining works. Therefore, yeah, we do that because it seems as though it's like a form of feedback. The authorities and the power that be also kind of take this into account. Then they also kind of react to our reaction.
Yes, basically what you're describing is that there is a positive feedback loop. That is, if I complain, if I press the complain button, something good comes out of it. So therefore, I get a positive feedback loop when I complain.
Yeah.
But that is actually, in a way, is a positive feedback loop for sometimes a negative emotion. The negative emotion that is an aggressive complaint.
But at least, so how I see it, so there's at least a resolution to things lah.
You may say that there's a resolution to things, but in a way, are we also not encouraging negative emotions and negative responses? Aren't we like encouraging people to be negative in the way they respond and in a very very passive way? Because if I'm just there to complain, I'm not actually there to solve the problem either. Think about it. Like if I'm just there to complain, then I'm not there to offer solutions. But the end result is that the problem is solved by somebody else.
But
then basically, isn't it encouraging somebody to make a lot of noise without actually taking any serious action?
But I would also challenge that idea in a sense that like some of these things that we complain about are not something that is that can be solved easily. You need certain subject matter experts and certain people that have the expertise to solve those problems. Let's say the MRT breakdown.
I disagree with you on that.
Okay.
I strongly disagree on that because if referencing to another Yalaba episode, if you listen to a story by Riley, right, where she talked about the HDB blocks in Bukit Merah that one are not red and two, the colors are basically not to everybody's taste. That is an example of there were if so what she did was there were people who were unhappy with the color. She was unhappy with the color. Therefore, she approached the town council. She started doing her own research. She started to look at possible color schemes. She started asking. That's the thing. She started asking positive questions of people. Hey, why do you think of it this way? What is the idea behind it? Then she started to talk to her neighbors and talk about, hey, what do you feel about it? Because there was also a lot of absentee ballots, right? There were a lot of people who didn't actually show up to vote. So in that case, it's a situation whereby she not only did complain, she also took positive action to move forward to make something that is not just for her own sake, but also for her community's sake. She moved it in a positive direction.
Okay.
Right? So that's why I say that it doesn't mean that, we just complain and things get done and that's it, It's like if you want to complain, yes, but also be prepared to move things forward rather than just sit there and make noise. Because it could really just be another case of somebody posts a photo up and then it goes into Reddit and then there's like 20, 30 different comments about, somebody bought somebody didn't pay the architect enough or say something like this is all sorts of negative comments.
Like keyboard warriors lah. They just make a comment and then that's it lah.
Yeah, then in the end what happens? The estate has people feeling like looking at it and like feeling very ugly. This whole thing is very ugly. Right? But then of course, sorry to extend this point a little bit more, right? Like another example of color being a problem in the HDB blocks, right? If you recall the Tampines new blocks,
the red
stuff,
color thing, yeah.
No, the different colors where the whole lift landing became like a
like the
very weird cyberpunk
look,
kind
right? Of thing, yeah.
Yeah, like a Hungry Ghost cyberpunk kind of color looking thing, right? Then of course, because there were complaints and there was action taken, so therefore that's another case where because you complain, therefore things get worked out and it changes very quickly, and therefore it's like that's what I mean by a positive loop out of a complaint. But sometimes things are not so straightforward.
Yeah.
Therefore you need someone who's like participating, engaging to say that maybe these three colors all cannot work for us. What about a fourth or fifth? And we need to talk about it.
So then let me then ask a more nuanced or more deeper question lah. So if let's say we stand on the side of the authorities or the powers that be, let's say you receive a complaint. So does it mean that you should not entertain it because by virtue that you want the citizenry to be less reactionary?
No, I would say that what is a great thing about living in Singapore? The great thing about living in Singapore is that the people in public service and in authority or authoritative positions and public service and government, generally, I think you would probably agree with me on this.
Yep.
Generally, people in public service, regardless of whether they're political or not, no matter whether you agree with them or not, we have this culture of I'm doing a job for the public good. And the large majority, or if you can even say a blanket statement, almost all of them have this mentality of serving the public in mind.
Yeah.
Therefore, that's also why complaining works, right? Because if you complain to somebody who just sits there and says, computer says no,
yeah,
will you complain again?
No lah, because it doesn't work.
Yeah, because it doesn't work. But it's because people in public service care and people complain and it works. Therefore, it goes into a thing. But I think what I'm asking for or telling or just trying to please, listener, viewer, consider this. Perhaps do more than complaining. Give suggestions, give ideas, give thoughts rather than just merely complain. Give a proper feedback, right? A complaint is just saying, I'm not happy with this. A more extensive feedback is, I'm not happy with this, but maybe if you did it this other way, it might work. Rather than just complain.
Or at least share what's causing your dismay.
Yeah.
Like then because of doing that, you engage your negative emotions, and then you think deeper about why you have
Such a complaint.
such a complaint. And then, like what we said at the start, is like we want to be cleverer thinkers, right? So that we want to think deeper about like why we feel strongly about certain things. And then sometimes, because I myself, sometimes I do catch myself doing that, because I'm of the opinion that we should not say that, oh, because it is complaining is bad, I totally don't complain. I should just suppress my voice, because the fact remains is that I am a citizen of this nation. I have a part and I have a stake in this whole thing. Therefore, that's why it kind of riles me up when certain things don't go right. Because if the opposite would be that it will reach a stage where it's like we are just indifferent about things. And that's also not the way to go, right? Like we totally don't care really. Like, complain also no use. That kind of. We also don't want to take that extreme stance, but we also don't want to take the stance of like, we complain, then we like hound people down because of our dismay. And then that also doesn't work. Because ultimately is that we have certain dismay about certain things, and when we think deeper, then it kind of helps us to consider whether is it valid or not. But sometimes what I feel is that sometimes it might also be that we might not have to come up with potential solutions per se, but at least be more to think a bit deeper about why you are dismayed, and then think deeper about, okay, I'm dismayed because of this, and then I see it as like I see deeper issues, the deeper issues behind my dismay. Then at least it can help us to have constructive conversations going forward.
For that to happen, then I would say that for that to happen, what is important is that people in positions of authority and decision making also, and I think it's trending towards this, they need to see themselves not as figures of authority, but also seeing themselves as representatives in a way of the citizenry in itself.
Yeah.
It's just that, oh, I'm also a citizen. It just so happens that I sit in this office.
Yeah.
So in that sense that like, okay, if I were to complain about the MRT, what would I be complaining about? What do I need from this system? What do I hope the system can do? And if I were to compromise, what am I willing to compromise?
Yeah.
So it's not just a situation where because I'm in control, I turn it off means I turn it off. But rather because if I turn it off, how will I be as part of the wider society? How will I be impacted? And what can I do to minimize that impact? Yeah. And I think in a way, as much as people are complaining about this MRT shutdown in November, December, for especially on the eastern side of Singapore, I think what needs to be, you need to give some credit also.
Yep.
In the sense that, hey, actually, when did we shut down the MRT? We shut down the MRT at a time where there are no major exams, schools are on holiday, a large
proportion of the population is out of town.
There are a lot of people are out of town for holidays, or economic activity is a bit slower anyway. It's the end of the year. Expats go home for a while, all these kind of things, right? Then actually, can you imagine you do this shutdown in November, December is much better than shutting down the MRT in January when everyone's rushing to get stuff done before Chinese New Year.
Yeah, and
so it's like a bit of like understanding of where things are, and also like allowing that participation, and also not just seeing yourself as a one character or another.
Yeah, and I think also I do feel that those who are in power, and like what you said, it is trending towards that side, which is to be more communicative and to be more receptive for things to come in, for outside voices to come in. because I do feel that SMRT, to their credit, they did communicate that we are shutting down at this time.
Yes.
And they do press releases, and CNA and Straits Times and the news outlets take the chance to communicate to the public. But but I think because the citizenry is getting more and more educated, it also doesn't harm to take a bit more time to actually educate us on the rationale why certain things are done in a certain way.
Which is exactly what happened when they started like LTA and LTA released all this information and all the infographics in the newspapers talking about why we need to maintain this tunnel in the Circle Line.
Yeah.
Why are cracks happening? And
And-
they also didn't really hide away from the fact that there are cracks in the tunnels and all that.
Yeah.
Because if you took an older school way of looking at this, some people may think that, I'm not gonna say this. People are gonna start shooting at us saying that because we never maintain the tunnels properly, that's why we're in this situation, that kind of thing. But rather it's like, okay, some things are just natural and therefore we need to do something to rectify it. It's something that we didn't foresee and things like that. Then people on the other side, the layman, shouldn't be just taking pot shots. Just say, you these guys never maintain it properly and all that.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta also understand that some things, not every single scenario can be foreseen.
Yeah. And coming back to, even though we make the joke at the start of the hour about the clockwise, anti-clockwise, it actually goes to show that I also didn't know that SMRT went out of their way to actually ask opinions with the train spotter community in Singapore. They actually did ask them for feedback, like how the signages should be, and then how can we redesign signages, and then how can we make it more friendly for Singaporeans to understand the train system better. But at the same time, it also then goes to show that, because if I didn't went online to find out and we didn't bring it up in our conversations, then we actually wouldn't know that this study actually went out, or this pilot project or whatever survey they have actually done. And after digging a bit more previously, I didn't really go into the thick of it, but I did know that, they have a cut-off time, then people can go there and vote and stuff like that. But it wasn't made known to the wider public to say that, hey, actually you all can spend that time to do this. And it's not just restricted to people who are like trained geeks and stuff like that, where the average public should still kind of, it shouldn't just be like a notification in just like a corner somewhere, but rather maybe do a bit more, which I think they are starting to do a bit more to help the general public understand things and to involve us lah. But I think it's trending in the right direction, but more still can be done.
Yeah. I feel in conclusion, I feel that what can we take out of it is perhaps complain better. Don't just complain for the sake of it. Don't just complain because you're unhappy, but rather think about it and sort of offer some potential solutions that can help to make the wider problem become less of an issue or go away.
So it kind of is, what you're saying is like the idea of an active citizenry in some sense.
Yes, but at least but when you say active citizenry, right, it becomes a very abstract idea, right? What does it actually mean? Does it mean you go for healthy lifestyle, active runs all day long? No, I think what actually it means is don't just complain, but rather give an idea of maybe you tweak it this way or that way, or something like that. Like for example, even LTA and SMRT also acknowledge that the way they communicated about the MRT shutdown for the maintenance could have been done much better.
Yep.
Right. Some of the ways they put out a message has also, it's like there's more to be desired.
Yep.
And credit where it's due. Like the latest thing that they're doing is there's going to be a live app that announces train status.
which I think is very helpful, especially in where most Singaporeans have a smartphone and we are comfortable with technology. Why not?
Yeah, and I think that is probably also an idea that came out from the public when people say that, hey, why is there no you can see the live status of the MRT arrival time at the station, right? Why don't you release a version of the feed where the public can consume it?
Yep.
Yeah, and that actually within really weeks, I think there's something announced on the news already.
Yeah.
So-
and I kind of saw what they also did because I kind of followed a TikTok creator. He did like the bus signage. So he decided to do this like he decided to design his own like a e-ink screen at home. Then he's basically calling some API on like the transport system that calls into so some of the bus apps have like the arrival time. So he kind of started designing this for his own house so that on his just at the doorway of his house, he's able to have this signboard, that e-ink board that tells him like, okay, the bus that he's gonna take is gonna like arrive in 5 minutes, then he would make his plans to go out. So he can wait at the comfort of his home instead of like going to the bus stop kind of thing. So when he started doing that, then he keep calling because of the API or whatever, how he designed the whole system behind it. Then he keeps calling the LTA API, right? Then LTA started noticing, how come this guy keep calling our API?
Yeah.
Then instead of shutting him down, LTA, which I was quite pleasantly surprised, is that LTA did communicate, did get in touch with him, and then communicated with him, and then asked him like, hey, so we noticed that you call our API, so what do you think? What
do you need?
What do you need? And then how can we serve you better? Which I think is a departure from the previous era of
the limpe know best.
Yeah, don't touch our thing, like
we know best, we do best, therefore you just shut up.
Which goes to show that actually, yeah, they kind of are trying their best and doing better. But at the same time, on the flip side, for me, is that sometimes I think people really want to engage the powers that be, but then they may not know, or they may not know who to engage or how to even start. Then how then do you feel that then the powers that be, how can then put themselves out there?
Well, I think, okay, to be fair, I think social media posts do have an impact. Because there are, if you didn't know, there are things like social listening tools and things like that. So
even ChatGPT now, you can like go on and
ChatGPT in itself is
social listening tool.
Not it was not built as that, but if you wanted to know what people are talking about on Reddit, what is the thing that people are getting a lot of responses over, you go to Reddit. Or you either manually go to Reddit, or you just ask ChatGPT to give you have a feel for you, have a sense for you.
Yep.
So it's not like nobody reads these things at all. What is important is that back to the same point. If you have something to complain about, then also try and give a considered answer, a potential good solution that maybe because of your own experience and your own knowledge, maybe another solution that you suggest may actually be the better way to do things, rather than just be a noisemaker. That's how I feel it should be done.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of the suggestions, that earlier suggestion about train status, right? Yeah. Please go to www.mytransport.sg/train status, and you will be led to an LTA website. And they will actually give you a color coding as to which lines are operating smoothly.
Yep. Link is in the doobly-doo.
If I can remember to put it in. Yeah. But yeah, that's just go to that, and you can see, because it went live just a few days ago. And you can see like, oh, the circle line is green. Yeah. Our next segment is our usual. So what is the thing that you learned today?
Okay, so today, I think I kind of came across this quite a while ago, but it kind of resurfaced in my mind again. So, and I felt it was quite an interesting thing to share here. Is that, so if you watch Japanese anime or like Japanese...
I rarely do. I only watch the reiteration of Samurai X.
Okay. So you will see that the trend seems to be like the heroes in Japanese anime, like they'll announce their name at arrival, and then the introduction will be like long-winded, like multiple frames. Then it could be like half an episode. Then he introduces himself. Okay, not half an episode lah, but there's an
There'll
extended.
be like a good 3 minutes where like I am the who, and I'm the son of who, and my ultimate, I carry this mythical sword and blah 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 blah.
Then I was son of then my father was betrayed by who. Then then therefore I am like that.
Like I'm the fallen monk or whatever. Not
yeah. So then sometimes you will wonder like why. Like, is it really? But actually, there is a reason why they do it.
Okay.
And today I learned why.
Okay, what's that?
So it's actually related to the ancient samurai in Japan.
Okay.
So in medieval Japan, so samurai often announces their name, lineage, and allegiance before combat. And this practice is actually called nanori, and it serves a few purposes. So firstly, it is about honor and reputation. So glory depended on who you defeated. Because sometimes a lot of these things are like bounty, right? So if you defeat, you need to know who you defeated. And then people around you, then your legend and your myth will grow.
So it's a bit like boxing rules.
Like people will know like, okay, you killed this guy. And then, and also because it's in medieval Japan, like lineage and genealogy is a very big part. Like who do you descended from? Who's your master?
Okay, so genealogy for means basically is what is your family tree lah?
Yeah, it establishes your legitimacy and your rank within like the social system and stuff like that. Then of course, you need witnesses. So battles are usually observed by observers who they need to record all these things. So they're like the official record, like the rule.
Because East Asian culture, there's this thing about recording history and all that.
Yeah. So there's like people, you fight the other person, you challenge the person, then there are people at the start, they'll take record on. And then it's also that ritualized combat. So even in ancient times, like combat is not like I go out there and I shoot you, then I hide, I shoot and hide. But it's like it's really ritualized where it's like I challenge you, and then it is in a formal. Like there's a ring and there's like an area
that is not just a East Asian thing, right? It's like if you look at, why is there a phalanx?
Yeah.
Like or in like those old ancient
Roman, I think.
Roman or Greek type of battles is always like one formation kind of thing, right?
So a typical nanori would include I am your name here, son of who, then retainer of Lord who, famed for, then you list down your achievement.
Retainer of Lord means it's like the shogun.
The master that
his employer lah.
Yeah, your employer lah. So it is a formal self-introduction before the conflict. And then
but not with the fancy pattern or the jump around. Then
no. That one not real.
But no, that one is cartoon
but
purposes
the
only.
Introduction, like you say very long. Yes, it is actually it's rooted in samurai history.
Okay.
And then also there's an additional level of it, which is accounting. Because let's say I defeat you and then the bounty is on your head, right? I need to go and collect, right? Then I need to know who you are before I can tell the people that have a bounty on your head that I killed you.
Because if not, you just drag some random hit.
Correct.
Then you
I killed this guy because before the battle, he told me that he's like that. Then you have the bounty, I killed him, so I'm going to collect. Then the more you can recall and like the more famous it is, then it seems as though like the reward is bigger. So there's accounting purpose to it. But then when we look at anime and we zoom out a bit, the stronger influence in anime is because of performing arts and not the combat per se. So in ancient in Japanese performing arts is like kabuki, no, and bunraku. So like characters like to give elongated poetic self-introductions. Then the heroes will announce themselves very dramatically, and then the name, titles, and moral alignment is given out explicitly lah. So they'll say out. And then when the audience watch this, they can savor the review. So it's part of like their performing arts culture. It's a bit like our, in Southeast Asian terms, like our wayang, or in Chinese terms, it's like our si, like that. And then kabuki especially, they prized pose, name, and declaration,
Okay.
which is actually very like the anime, like the jump around, they pose, then they like have a finishing move, that kind of thing, and
The
then they
exposition.
are named,
Yeah.
So then, because of this, anime actually inherited this theatrical, these theatrics. Then, therefore, the freeze frame entrances, the name and the epitaph, and then the exaggerated self-description. I am. Then they release their whole thing, long-winded stuff, and then the musical cues and spotlight moments. Yeah, it's very kabuki-like.
Yes.
And then, therefore,
the whole
yeah. So it's actually, so it's not like they. So part of it is actually real. Ancient medieval Japanese samurai do actually introduce themselves in this way.
Okay.
So, and it's also for accounting, and then there's also influence from Japanese theater. So that's what I learned today.
So it's not total BS.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not like the person announced halfway, like, then the guy died, then like.
It's the counter to it is the classic Indiana Jones thing lah.
Yeah,
just bam,
bam,
the Arabian guy dancing around with the sword, then he just bang, then
game over.
Yeah, hand shot first. So today I learned that this thing that we always consume in recent time has got a very long history, and I noticed that there's a lot of names for this one thing. That is potato.
Kantang.
Kantang. You see, got kantang. Then, okay, in Singaporean context, right, the colloquial languages that describe potatoes. So, like, in Mandarin, it's ma ling su.
Or tu dou.
Or tu dou. Then there is Holland shi, which is like Dutch,
Hong Kong.
Dutch sweet potato. Then, then I started to wonder, like, why do we have so many names for this thing? So I went on the internet and I found this. So where do you think potatoes come from?
I know the answer, and
But don't cheat lah. Just now I asked you, what do you think it was?
I thought it was from. It's very stereotypical Irish, right? Because the potato famine and stuff like that.
Okay, so the true source of the potato is actually South America. It came from the Andes Mountains. So it's basically like Peru and Bolivia, South America. And so therefore, it's like you may think that potato cakantang is a European thing, right?
Because the Europeans eat a lot of potato.
Yeah, but the true origin of the potato is actually not in Europe. The thing is, how it became so big is because when the Spanish first went to South America, they brought it back. And then it started. So the first places in Europe that had potatoes was Spain. The Spanish at first didn't want to eat it. They just saw it as a plant that flowered. Because the spike, the real potatoes in the
root lah. It's
in the ground, right?
Yeah.
It's in the soil, right? But there's actually a plant that goes above it. Yeah. So they actually, for some reason, they saw it as an ornamental plant at first. Yeah. But then because of the origins of it, right? It's so unusual, right, to have this fruit that doesn't come from the top of a tree,
but it's the root.
Yeah. Therefore, that's why you have so many different names for the word potato. The most common, basically, all the funny names that you hear for potatoes, right? All come, at least in Europe, because they think that it's an apple in the ground.
Right, I think the French actually call it something apple, right? It translates.
Yeah, so in French, it's called pomme de terre.
Pomme de terre, yeah.
Which is pomme is
apple of the ground.
Yeah, so pomme is apple.
Yeah.
So the terre is of the ground.
Which is why German is pommes, I think.
Pommes, yes, because it's short form. Then in Dutch is aardappel, butchering the language. Basically, it's earth apple. In Hebrew, it's also apple of the ground. In Persian, also earth apple. Swiss German also. So basically, all the various languages basically call it the apple of the ground.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the deep frying thing started in Belgium, Holland,
France,
the Benelux region.
Yeah.
So that's why we have
French
fries. There are two sources for why we call it French fries.
Yeah.
One more official than the other, but anyways, that's for another day. That's for another day.
Yeah.
So, but it's because it's popularized by the Dutch. Therefore, when it came to this region, it is called Hollandshi in a way. And I also found that one of the slangs for the word potato in Japan, I'm going to butcher this, but it's jagaimo.
Okay.
Jagaimo basically means Jakarta tuber.
Because of the Dutch, then it went to the Dutch East Indies and then it goes to Japan in some sense.
Yes. So it's basically like a thing from Jakarta, which is brought in by the Dutch.
Yeah.
So that's why there's this thing about Hollandshi also. So yeah, that's the reason why you have like so many various ways to call
A potato.
potatoes potato. Thanks for listening to us for this episode. If you have anything to say, please put it in the comments. If you are shy, please tell us personally, DM us. Thanks very much for listening to us. You will hear us again much sooner than you expect the next time.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.